Hey everybody, this is my machine. This is my first one. It's factory, almost no modifications, except for the foot, ground on the bottom, painted it, and then put some tool magic on it. I was sitting here tinkering, playing, stitching up some masks. I know some of you hate masks, but oh well. Um, I thought I'd turn this on and talk to you guys a little bit about stitching cheap leather with glue that's not dry all the way, and why that's a bad thing. Try waiting a little while before you start stitching with the glue in between your layers. Try to let it dry. I'll show you why. I went ahead and played with this because I'm very impatient. I don't know if anybody... Oh, hi, 3 people. Um, I don't know if anybody has figured this out or talked about it on the group yet, but sometimes when the glue is still a little wet, still a little tacky, it'll ball up on your needle, and it will cause the thread to ball up at the eye of your needle. It'll start ripping it, and it'll pop a thread. Try not to let that happen, but sometimes you're just impatient. I'm definitely impatient. I'll show you some close-ups. See, it looks fine, and then you get a bad loop right there, but if you look really close at it, if I can get some focus on that loop right there. Any day now. You see it looks like it's torn a little bit. It started doing it right there. And as I come around here, I actually broke it because the goobers of the glue was getting on the needle and messing with the thread. It's a simple fix. Wait 12 hours. Wait 24 hours. Wait till the next time you can get to your bench to play with it. I know a lot of people talk about top threads breaking. Most of the time, that's just your needle depth. It can be your timing on your shuttle. It can be all kinds of random things, but in this case, this is one of the ones that happens by you, not the machine itself. Try not to stitch with a little bit of glue in there, but I mean, this thing stitches just fine. I'll show you. There's a piece of just random scrap that I keep in a bucket. I actually have some pictures of the little thread ball that it creates right at the eyelet. I'll post those later of what can happen when you're doing it with a little bit of glue on a little bit of wet glue in there. I'll shorten these up a little. See, stitches just fine, but as soon as you put some material in there or some glue in there, it messes up. Patience. It's not a race, right? I keep saying that to people. I need to do it myself too, right? So, I had a conversation with a guy earlier, him trying to figure out how to start and stop. And there's a lot of different ways, little couple of fun ways that you can figure things out for your specific projects. For this, I wasn't going to worry about doing a back stitch because it's going to continue all the way around and then go over the previous stitches that I started at. But a couple of people have asked me, how do I create a back stitch? They don't understand that the position of the drum changes the length of your stitch and all that stuff. So when I pull this out, and I'll show that a little bit. One cool way I found, if I'm doing something that's like a wallet and it's got one side you're not going to see as much, or if I'm like stitching up a lighter cover or something like that, what I'll do is I'll find my line. I'll start it backwards. I have marks on here. It's a complete 180, so the stitch is the same in both directions. I'll get through. And then I turn this around. I leave this at about 7:30-ish, clock-ish, so that the foot is up out of the way. I get it turned around, and I'll actually lift the material up on the needle just a little bit. I'll grab this bottom stitch, and usually that's the side that you're not going to be seeing too often if you're making a product like a wallet. And I'll give it a little tug, and it pulls that top thread through, and you got a little loop right there. You can grab that loop and pull it through. Then you got your tips both on one side, so when you're done with your project, you can cut those, burn them down, and make them stick. Then you can continue on. That's how you do a back stitch at the stop. That's one way. Or you can turn your material. Let me get through here a couple. So, going in backwards, you want your foot to stay facing towards you. Going in backwards, put your foot down. Get your foot at about the 7:30 point. You can let go. Just, it's still delicate, but you can let go. Then you can turn your material 180. But I've noticed if I turn my material that 180 this direction, but clockwise, it'll break the thread. If I rotate it counterclockwise, it won't break the thread, and I can continue on. So, look at that. They look identical, two different methods of doing it. So I thought that might be interesting for a few people. I know that one guy, I forget his name, he was having a hard time understanding that. Just going, all you're doing is changing your direction. That's two different ways of doing it. And then when you get at your stops, the reason, if you do it the first way where you are poking holes in your same direction, or if you're have the drum turned away from you, and you go forward, and then you lift the foot up, you lift the material and you pull the string through the back. That way, you do it at that point so that when you do your back stitch, the back stitch won't go through the thread that you want to pop the other direction. Yeah, no, it is. It really is. When it's clockwise, I have snapped it almost every time. Yeah, I know. I can't figure out how to fix that. I did once, and I can't figure out how I did it, and I know. Just remember right to left, left to right, left, left, right, right. But if you pull it through, like on this one, if you pull it through so that both those tips are on the same side, and then at your ending, you want it to be the same way, you can pull on the backside stitch. You get that little loop from the front stitch, you could pull them all the way through. And then, see, I didn't cut those, I didn't burn them down, but I was able to pop them through, and then you can chop them on the back and melt them down. Then they're invisible, and you got a consistent looking stitch without any of the burn marks from you melting down the tips. So, helpful hint right there. I had some bad luck. Somebody might have not seen this, but I had some bad luck on this mask. For some reason, I'm just too impatient to wait till the glue to dry. That's my fault, dumbass me. The glue will ball up on your needle, especially in the channel that your thread flows through as it's going through. When that does, it will start to fray. It'll start to fray your thread, and it will create a little ball that will go up and down with your needle, and after a while it just gets thinner and thinner, then it pops. And that's what happened right here. And then it started to happen over here, and I thought I fixed it, but it ended up loose anyways and fraying. And truly, just a little bit of patience. It's not a race. But yeah, I thought I'd put a couple of helpful hints out there about starts and stops. And I think I said this once already. Wait till the glue dries. I gotta go to bed. Have a good night, guys.